You ever notice how everyone drafted after him turned out pretty similar? After Deandre Ayton's rookie season where he averaged 16 points and 10 rebounds, there were no signs of the disappointment that would eventually follow. Luka Doncic immediately stole the spotlight, winning Rookie of the Year. But it wouldn't be crazy to say Ayton was the second best rookie in that class. Under Coach Monty Williams and surrounded by young talent like Devin Booker and Kelly Oubre Jr., the 2019 to 2020 Suns looked ready to break out. Ayton, averaging 18 and 11, was clearly their center of the future, but even then, it felt like he hadn't been fully unlocked out physically. Ayton was NBA ready. In a league that lacks physicality, bigs who can bang in the paint, run the floor, and finish plays are a rarity, and Ayton had all that. He didn't just fit in. He looked built for dominance. The only thing missing, a veteran point guard to orchestrate it all. Enter Chris Paul by Ayton's third season. The Suns brought in one of the greatest playmakers of all time, with Booker averaging 25 a night and CP3 leading the offense. All signs pointed to Ayton's breakout, and he was a key contributor during their finals run, matching up against Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis. But even then, his season wasn't anything special. He could look like the best center in the league one night with a 25 and 15 performance, and then turn around and give you 6 and 6 the next. And then came the red flags. Monty Williams, known for being a player's coach, benched Ayton in a Game 7, calling it an internal issue. Ayton then refused to speak with Monty and failed to reach a contract extension. He hit restricted free agency, got an offer from the Pacers, and the Suns matched it, locking him in without any real growth to show. The next season, more of the same, and in the playoffs, he was demolished by Jokic in the Western Conference semifinals. At this point, Ayton was 23 years old, 4 years in, and hadn't developed any part of his game. Still no defense, no three-point shot, no edge. He averaged 17 and 10, but it was empty. You could argue he was the same player from day one. Why? Because he didn't need to be better. Rewind to draft night 2018. After going no. 1 overall, Ayton was asked a simple question: what does success in the NBA look like for you? His response: definitely getting to my second contract, that's my success. That moment told us everything we needed to know. Ayton's not a bad player, but once you understand that money, not greatness, was the goal, his entire career starts to make sense. He never had to push himself. He was gifted enough to coast into a 4-year, $133 million contract without ever improving from his rookie year. Despite the league catching on that his development had flatlined, Ayton's talent alone guarantees him a third contract. He finally got out of Phoenix when they sent him to Portland in the Damian Lillard traded team, where he could finally be the guy, but neither Ayton knew how to be that guy, nor did the Blazers know how to use him, and he fell right back into the same passive rhythm. He's averaged 16 and 11 in Portland, solid, but unremarkable. For a center, less than the free throw attempts per game is a red flag. The truth is, when Ayton wants to dominate, he can, but that's the problem. He's become complacent. He has enough talent to kill a horse and enough complacency to kill a Hall of Fame career. Now, from a forgotten no, 1 pick to a frustrating no 2, let's talk about Jalen Green. His public perception has been in the gutter since choking in the first round of the playoffs. The Rockets made major strides this season, largely thanks to great team basketball. But when it comes to having that guy, Green was supposed to be him, and he just isn't. When he came into the league, I bought the hype. His high school mixtape was electric, despite being a bit undersized for a shooting guard. His body control and bounce were elite. He had rhythm, skill, and flair. The sky was the limit. But then he made the first mistake we keep seeing, choosing the G League Ignite route. Look, I've said it before, if you're trying to skip college, working a year in construction might serve you better. Green became the face of the Ignite program, got drafted 2nd overall, and came into the league doing what he was known for: scoring. He averaged 17 points as a rookie and looked like a key piece of Houston's rebuild. But fast forward 4 seasons, and he's still the same player. Alperen Sengun has emerged as the real gem from that draft for Houston. Sure, Green's been the team's top scorer on paper, but when it matters, they trust Sengun. This past postseason made that painfully clear. Green should be a 3-level. Deandre Ayton was drafted before several stars in his class, and early on, he looked the part. After a rookie season averaging 16 points and 10 rebounds, there were no signs of the disappointment to come. While Luka Doncic was winning Rookie of the Year and grabbing the spotlight. Ayton was quietly solid and appeared to be Phoenix's center of the future. Under Monty Williams and alongside rising talents like Devin Booker and Kelly Oubre Jr., the 2019 to 2020 Suns looked poised for a breakout. Ayton was averaging 18 and 11, and his physical frame and athleticism made him NBA ready from day one. He could run the floor, finish at the rim, and hold his own, everything you'd want in a young center. But it always felt like there was more potential waiting to be unlocked. Than King Chris Paul in Ayton's third season, Phoenix brought in one of the best playmakers in NBA history, giving Ayton what every young big man needs: a seasoned point guard. The conditions were perfect for a breakout. Booker was taking scoring pressure off, and CP3 could set the table. Phoenix made a deep playoff run, and Ayton had big moments guarding stars like AD, Jokic, and Giannis, but something wasn't clicking. His stats weren't much different than before. Some nights, he looked like an elite center. Other nights, he'd vanish. Monty Williams benched him in Game 7, citing internal issues. Ayton refused to speak to Monty after that and failed to reach a contract extension. Though the Pacers made him an offer, the Suns matched it. He'd have another underwhelming season and was dominated by Nikola Jokic in the playoffs. 4 years in, Ayton hadn't shown real improvement. His defense was inconsistent. His offensive game hadn't evolved, and he still didn't shoot threes. Yet he got paid, for years, $133 million. Looking back at his draft night, Ayton's mindset may have foreshadowed all of this. When asked what success meant to him, he replied, "Into my second contract." That's not a terrible goal, but it revealed where his motivation lay. Ayton didn't have to work harder. His talent alone was enough to secure a massive payday. After being traded to Portland as part of the Damian Lillard deal, Ayton had a shot to be a #1 option, but neither he nor the Blazers knew how to make it work. He continued his pattern of quiet consistency without ever standing out, averaging 16 and 11 over 2 seasons in Portland. Ayton hasn't looked like a former #1 pick. He doesn't draw fouls, doesn't dominate inside, and hasn't evolved. He's still talented enough to shine against average centers, but he's become complacent. Ayton has the talent to be great, but the complacency to ruin it. Jalen Green fits into a similar category, a high-flying scorer with superstar potential. He's become a polarizing figure. Drafted 2nd overall, he was supposed to be Houston's next big star. His high school mixtapes were electric, and his athleticism was elite. But his decision to go the G League Ignite route may have stunted his development. Green came into the league averaging 17 points, showing flashes of brilliance, but 4 years in, he's largely the same player, an inefficient volume scorer who doesn't pass, defend, or elevate his team. While Houston has improved by playing more team basketball, Green has fallen behind. Alperen Sengun has become the centerpiece, and Green's role has diminished. The Rockets were visibly worse defensively when Green was on the court. He has elite potential as a 3-level scorer, but he hasn't improved his efficiency or basketball IQ. He's still skinny and struggles against elite defenders. His playoffs were disappointing, and fans are turning on him. His trade value has dropped significantly. Patrick Williams was a no for pick in 2020, drafted by the Bulls for his two-way upside. With an NBA-ready frame and flashes of explosiveness, he was dubbed the Paw and compared to Kawhi Leonard. His rookie season was modest but efficient. Then came an injury. When he returned, he looked the same, lacking aggression, confidence, and fire. Williams never became the offensive threat Chicago hoped for. While he's serviceable on defense, he doesn't assert himself. Despite shooting 40% from 3 and having the tools to succeed, he's become a passive role player. In 2024, the Bulls gave him a 5-year, $90 million deal, and fans are already calling it a mistake unless something changes by the end of that contract. Williams may not have a long future in the league. Mo Bamba had enormous hype entering the league. A 7 feet 10 inches wingspan, elite shot blocking, and even a platinum hit song named after him. Drafted 6th overall by Orlando, he was supposed to become a dominant, modern-day big man, but early injuries and a lack of awareness on the court stunted his growth. For his first 3 years, he was a backup averaging 5 and 6. When Nikola Vucevic was traded, Bamba finally got a starting role. His stats improved, but mostly due to increased minutes, not performance. He shot well from 3 and blocked shots, but he lacked discipline and defensive anchoring ability. Instead of improving, He was often late on rotations, fouled frequently, and struggled in the post. Despite his tools, Bamba wasn't hustling or defending with purpose. He was eventually benched, overshadowed by Ball, and later traded to the Lakers after an injury. Like Ben Simmons, Andrew Wiggins entered the league as a No. 1 overall pick and 1 Rookie of the Year, quickly being dubbed the future of the Minnesota Timberwolves in his second season. He stepped up to average about 21 points per game and was clearly the team's top perimeter option, but his game soon stagnated. He was forced into taking tough, low-efficiency shots to create offense a bit like a diet version of what Aaron Wiggins might attempt today. Wiggins had all the physical gifts, elite bounce, smooth coordination, and the foundational skills to become a two-way star, yet his development stalled. He was expected to blossom into a premier perimeter defender thanks to his athleticism, but it quickly became obvious that the desire just wasn't there. By his third season, he was averaging 23.6 points per game, and while he had the occasional 40-point outburst, it meant little. Minnesota still finished with a 31-51 record. Even with young talents like Zach LaVine and Karl-Anthony Towns around, the team felt more like a collection of individual talent than a functioning unit. LaVine often ran point, while Wiggins played selfishly, took inefficient shots, and showed little effort defensively. They were trying to out-talent teams, but lacked cohesion. By 2017, the Wolves brought in a real point guard in Jeff Teague and a veteran leader in Jimmy Butler, someone who could defend top players and didn't mind deferring on offense. Yet Wiggins still couldn't adapt. His shooting efficiency dropped into the low 40% range, and after 5 years of the same inconsistent output, the Wolves traded him to Golden State, a move initially seen as a salary dump. In reality, it was the best thing that could have happened to his career. The Warriors realized that if Wiggins could be a third or fourth scoring option, he could refocus on his defense and contribute meaningfully to a winning system. That's exactly what happened. Under the guidance of Draymond Green and within Golden State's culture, Wiggins became an elite wing defender and a valuable contributor. He helped the team win a championship, became an all-star starter, and proved his worth without having to be the guy. His skills didn't necessarily evolve, but his commitment and fit within a structured, winning environment made all the difference. By the time he was later traded to Miami, Warriors fans didn't want to see him go, a sign of just how far he had come from his Minnesota days. Frank Ntilikina, on the other hand, was a very different kind of prospect, yet equally puzzling. Often criticized for not being Dennis Smith Jr., Ntilikina was a 6 feet 4 inches point guard with a 7 feet 1 inch wingspan. Knicks fans were intrigued by his size, defensive instincts, and pass-first mindset. He even drew praise from LeBron James, who called him a cerebral player and a future defensive star, but with that youth came limitations. His handle was outdated, he couldn't shoot, and offensively, he just looked lost. Despite this, the Knicks seemed committed to him, starting him over a 34-year-old Jarrett Jack. While his defense lived up to the hype, he could switch and disrupt passing lanes. His offensive limitations were glaring. Averaging just 6 points and 3 assists, he was often a non-factor, even with occasional praise from players like Ramon Sessions, saying he reminded him of a young Kyrie Irving. His offensive game never grew. He had a promising stint at the 2019 FIBA World Cup, helping France earn a bronze medal, and entered the next NBA season with hopes of taking the next step. While his defense continued to impress, his inability to shoot the ball got him benched for Elfrid Payton. He became a free agent by 2021 and, despite being just 22 years old, was already fighting for his NBA life. He later spent time in Dallas and Charlotte before returning to Europe. In a league where point guards need to shoot and create, Frank's offensive development simply didn't keep up. Gary Trent Jr., on the other hand, exceeded expectation, at least for a while. Drafted 37th overall, he spent most of his rookie year in the G League, but by his second year, things started clicking. During the 2020 bubble, Trent exploded, averaging 17 points and shooting over 50% from deep. The Raptors saw real value and traded for him. In his first full season with Toronto, Trent averaged 18 points per game, was a high-level defender, and took care of the ball. He looked like a future third option on a playoff team, and even showed flashes of microwave scoring ability, dropping 40 on occasion and catching 5 from 3. But that momentum didn't last. 2 seasons later, Trent's scoring dipped below 14 points per game. He shifted between the starting lineup and the bench, and his inconsistency became a major issue when his shot wasn't falling. He didn't contribute much defensively. He became a ball stopper on offense, relying on the reputation he built from that brief bubble and early Raptors success. He eventually took a pay cut to join the Bucks, where he thrived in a more suitable role as a scoring threat off the bench. Still, his failure to evolve beyond what he was in 2021 has capped his trajectory. Cam Reddish entered the league with sky-high expectations. He had the frame and tools to be a three-level scorer and multi-positional defender, and he was part of one of the most hot college teams ever. Alongside Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett at Duke, yet even at Duke, Reddish struggled to find a role, failing to thrive as a third option, a red flag in hindsight. His NBA start was rocky. He opened his career shooting 1-for-18 from deep. Though he improved over his rookie season and found a niche off the bench, he averaged 10.5 points per game with subpar efficiency, but showed some late-season promise. Unfortunately, an Achilles injury slowed him in his second season. Growing frustrated with his role in Atlanta, he pushed for a trade. Despite improving his shooting, his defense was inconsistent, and his attitude and basketball IQ didn't match the role the Hawks had envisioned for him. He landed in New York under Tom Thibodeau, a coach notorious for short rotations, and his playing time dropped from 23 to 14 minutes per game. Reddish wasn't competing with stars. He was losing minutes to Alec Burks and Quentin Grimes. Thibodeau reportedly didn't want him, and Reddish never found his footing. He bounced around again, ending up in Los Angeles before being waived just before the playoffs. It's hard to understand why someone with his tools has struggled so much. He's still just 25, but unless he buys in and defines a role defense, spot-up shooting, something he'll keep falling short. His shooting has stagnated around 28% from three. He turns the ball over nearly as much as he assists, and he hasn't proven he can be a defensive anchor. Rui Hachimura, by contrast, has found his role. Coming out of Gonzaga, Rui averaged 13.5 points and 6.1 rebounds as a rookie. He was a late bloomer starting college without knowing English, but becoming an All-American and a top international prospect. His second year mirrored his first, but his shooting slowly improved from 29% to 33%, then up to 45% in year three. Despite these gains, his minutes declined, even on a struggling Wizards team. He couldn't stay consistent, scoring to points one night and 25 the next. Eventually, he was traded to the Lakers after a 30-point performance in his final game with Washington. It took some time for him to adjust in LA, but he found his place. In the NBA Finals, Rui Hachimura managed to score in double figures in all 4 games, a promising sign that he might finally secure a consistent starting role. He rediscovered some of that third-season magic, shooting over 40% from three and over 50% from the field. In Los Angeles, it seemed like his long-standing consistency issues were finally being addressed. That said, Rui never quite became the 20-point-per-game scorer many thought he had the potential to be. Instead, he settled into a complementary role, first around LeBron and AD, and now around Luka in Los Angeles. While the Lakers continue to search for the right roster balance to chase another championship, Rui has quietly become a reliable contributor. He's fixed the flat shot that plagued him early in his career and evolved into an efficient shooter. Thanks to guidance from voices like J.J. Redick, he's even carved out a place on the defensive end, just as he has done with the Japanese national team, where he averaged 20 points per game. Against elite international competition, Rui has shown he can thrive in the right situation. If he had developed more steadily from the start instead of struggling during his time in Washington, he might be a borderline star by now. But even so, he's found a meaningful role in LA, and that's more than many players can say now. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Killian Hayes, who, frankly, has become one of the biggest laughingstocks in the league after an underwhelming stint in Detroit. Coming into the NBA, there was real excitement around the 6 feet 5 inches French point guard. He had smooth handles, sharp court vision, and professional experience overseas. It was the classic case of a young player with clear potential, who just needed time to polish a few parts of his game. Even back then, his inability to be slower defenders off the dribble in Europe was a red flag, and his scoring game was extremely raw. Yes, he could pass, but in today's NBA, that only gets you so far. His rookie year was cut short by a hip injury, which only compounded an already unimpressive start. He averaged 3 turnovers a game and shot at historically low percentages. While he improved his turnover numbers in year 2, his scoring barely budged, raising concerns within the Pistons organization. Killian's offensive bag was incredibly limited: awkward floaters, basic layups, and very little creativity. Still, he managed to hold on to his role for a while thanks to some solid defensive play. He was one of the better perimeter defenders and passers on a bad Pistons team. But none of that mattered when he couldn't hit a simple jump shot. Over time, even the strengths in his game began to erode. His defensive effort declined. He routinely drove straight into double teams, and he became overly reliant on teammates to bail him out. Add in recurring injuries, and Hayes quickly transformed from project guard with upside to scapegoat for a bottom-tier team. Eventually, Detroit waived him. He was cut from the French national team and had to settle for a 10-day contract with the Brooklyn Nets, spending time with their G League affiliate at just 23 years old. It feels strange to say Hayes might be done in the NBA, but it's hard to argue otherwise given the trajectory. There's still time for him to turn things around. He's younger than many players just entering their prime, but the road back won't be easy. He'll need to commit more effort than ever, develop even a reliable mid-range jumper, and hone in on the little things if he wants to stick in the league, because right now, it looks like his window is closing fast. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.